loosening up the cross slide, no, the carriage. A little rough, but that should be okay. Well, I just installed the correct change gears for a 3.0 millimeter pitch. Well, I hope they are the correct gears, but we will double check that later on. A little bit of this oil with an MOS additive won't hurt. Not too much, because and then it will be flying everywhere and hit the belts. It's time to start cutting a thread, and I put some red electrical tape on the threading tool as a marker for where I should stop the lathe. Hopefully I won't run the tool into the chuck. So here is a question for you guys. I want to set the compound slides to 30 degrees or 29 degrees, as this is a relative big thread pitch. But what do you think is better, setting the cross slide to this angle or setting it to this angle? Normally when I cut external thread, I set it to this angle. Not that I have cut that many external threads, but still that seems to work. But for internal threads, when you set the compound to this angle, you will be cutting at the other side of the tool bit, and I think it's better to cut on the side in which the carriage is traveling, the headstock side of the tooltip. What do you guys think? Although at this angle you will run the compound into the workpiece. So more tool stick out will be required. Unfortunately, setting the compound towards the rear will not work, because there is not enough travel in the cross slide to reach inside the hole. Anyway, I think I will accept some extra tool stick out and use this setup. I've decided to take off this edge here in order to limit the amount of tool stick out I need, and I'm gonna do this using the compound, so the angle here will be the same as on the workpiece. It looks like it took out the edge of the cutter. Yep, the hard chrome here really messed up my tool bit. Maybe you guys noticed, but I sure didn't. I was running the lathe in reverse. So that explains the messed up tool bit. Anyway, when I bought this lathe, it came with a few of these carbide insert tools. Most of the inserts were used, and many had broken off tips. I found one that's decent, and I honed it, and Well, it looks okay when I use my spyglass. So let's try this again. Right. That's enough. Well, that was all pretty much useless, because long before I run into the workpiece over here, the jaw here will be running into the cross slide. I guess I will be needing more tools stick out. To be honest, I'm not sure about this setup. In this setup, the first thing that will crash into the lathe is the tool bit. After that, if the tool gets pushed into the holder, the jaws will crash into the cross slide. And if it still moves by some sort of magic, the compound will hit the workpiece over here. Alright. Let's square up the cutting tool, and we should be ready to go. Let's make some thread. This is a box of tool tips I bought for this project. I believe I showed it briefly in an earlier video. It was advertised as a 16IR AG60 insert, and that means it's an internal right threading insert with a 60-degree tip, and the maximum thread pitch that can be made with this is 3 mm. So these should be exactly what I need. But now I'm going to show you something. Now look at this. That doesn't look right. These must be 55-degree tool tips, and therefore they are useless for this job. It also doesn't have the correct profile there to remove 1/4 of the top of the female thread. These inserts will produce a sharp female thread. Not that that matters much, because the male thread here is also pretty sharp. The single insert that came with the threading tool seems to fit perfectly. So it looks like I have 3 chances of getting this done. The inserts depicted on the Banggood website actually have this kind of form. So be aware of that when buying inserts from Banggood. There's a link for these in the description below the video. There's the SKU number in case somebody from Banggood is watching. They cost only €8, but for me that's €8 down the drain. I don't think I will ever use that many 55-degree tool tips to make a Whitworth thread. But I guess one could make a hipster bracelet out of these. A perfect Christmas gift for that lathe-loving special somebody. Let's make a scratch. See if I installed the correct change gears. To be honest, I'm getting a bit nervous here. It's not like I've seen visions of lathe crashes in my dreams, but still, I worry. I do worry. Stop! I stopped too early. Backing it out. Reversing the motor. Well, it sounded like a decent scratch. From behind the camera it also looks like a decent scratch. The thread pitch is correct, and check out this cool chip I got on cut number 3. That's beautiful. Maybe something for the Smithsonian. Alright, let's take another pass. Whoa! The lathe seems to have a hard time with those well, pretty light cuts. So far things are progressing nice and smooth, but slowly, and the thread doesn't look too bad. So time for another cut. I do have to take a lot of spring cuts. I'm getting nice chips. There's another one. Museum pieces. As I get deeper, the chips aren't looking as nice as they did earlier. There's a lot more swarf, but the thread, it still looks pretty good. Let's take another cut. Number 536,999. I wonder if the tip of the tool gets a bit dull. I think I will change to the next tip just to be sure. It's probably time to take the old spindle apart and do a little test fitting. I just did some spring passes, and now I'm only cutting some swarf. I probably should have zeroed the compound slide and calculated the amount of treadle I needed, but I forgot about that. The tip of the tool here is very close to the register, so I think the thread is almost done. I've taken apart this spindle many times when searching for what turned out to be the weirdest spindle problem ever caused by myself. So I've gotten pretty good at disassembling this thing. Let's see if I can still do it in under 5 minutes. Should loosen up the belt. The belt, by the way, is the biggest problem when assembling this spindle. I always forget the belt. And there it is. Done. That should be well under 5 minutes. Damn. Alright, let's see if this will fit. Hopefully I cleaned out all the swarf. It's a little tight. It could use some lube. Bit of WD-40. Something is rubbing. Yeah, it's starting to bind up. Okay. Well, that means I gotta take a few more cuts, but looks like I'm already very close. Surprisingly. Hopefully it will go out again. Still no spindle lock on this machine. Ah, scheisse. Alright, you guys are in my way. I'll try and get it out again. It is really hard to back the spindle out again. It binds up all the time. But there seems to be enough play in the thread, so it must be the register. But if I use the tailstock to line things up perfectly, it gets a lot easier. As you can see, and this is how far I can go. And at this point the play in the thread is almost gone. So I think the register might be okay, but I just need to take a few more passes on that thread. I've gone a 1/10 of a millimeter deeper using the compound slide, and as you can see it removes some material. Now I'm going to take a few spring passes and then hope for the best. No more nice chips. I cleaned things up again, and I think the thread looks pretty good. I cleaned the threads again, and I think it looks pretty nice, if I do say so myself. Although there are a few slight burrs here and there on the tops of the threads. I don't know how to clean that up. I guess they will wear away eventually. So let's try and fit the spindle again. Some lubrication. There's also a bit of oil on the spindle nose. Here we go again. I'm using the tailstock to line it up. And well, it goes in further, I think, but still not far enough. It's a bit hard to tell if it's the register or the thread that is a problem. There's a little movement sideways, so I think it must be the threads. Alright, I'll take a few more cuts. Well, I did it again, made a stupid mistake when trying to rush things. One turn too many when setting the cross slide back to 0, and this is what you get. Hopefully nothing moved, like the workpiece or the tool holder. Then I will be fine and can take a few more cuts. This will polish out, but it will leave a permanent reminder of my stupidity. Unfortunately, the tip of the tool broke off when I backed it out of the workpiece, and that changes things because it's too late in the game to change to another tool tip. I had already taken out another 1/10 of a millimeter. Hopefully that will be enough, because I don't think I can do any more threading. So I will disengage the lead screw and clean this mess up and then hope for the best. I was going to skim the surface here because it doesn't have the best finish, but as you can see, the workpiece moved. I want to shout out all kind of obscenities, but that really doesn't help. And kicking the workbench only hurts my toes. So I'm considering switching to knitting, make myself a nice pair of gloves and a scarf for the winter. Because obviously I suck at this job. Anyway, that's it for me. Don't expect any videos soon.